Welcome to Absolute Podcasters.
We're here, mate. We're finally here.
I know.
Sat down to do it, and I'm pleased. It's been a long time coming, actually.
Yeah.
We need to do a little something like this, you know.
This is, for those of you who don't know, which hopefully none of you will actually know, but this has been a long time dream of mine and Jack's from a young age of 14 in year 9. A lot of conversations about movies were had, and I think it's just about time to save it for posterity, you know?
Yeah, mate, of course. It's a great conversation to have, always movies, always an enjoyable one. So we thought, why not start the record button on and see what happens, mate.
See where the night takes us. If it gets weird, it gets weird, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
That is, mate, that is. I couldn't agree more.
Right.
So we're going, opening episode, we thought no better way to start off than to do our respective top 10s. Open up little discussions about the films we like, why we like them, which ones might be similar between the two of us, which ones we might disagree with.
Some hefty debates might be coming.
There will be. I reckon we'll agree on quite a few.
You might want to turn the volume down, folks.
Yeah, I think there will be some we agree on, though, because I know there's some films you like that I like a lot as well.
Yeah, I finally found it on my notes page. It's
list,
quite deep in terms of...
I just cooked mine up now, actually. I didn't
fresh.
Really have one. So it is hot off the press.
Okay.
Ready to be debated. So do you want to do it 10 to 1? 10, but do you want to do like my 10, your 10?
We'll go...
Yeah. I think
of course.
that way. Mate, you can kick off then.
Huge.
I'm happy for you to open up.
Absolutely humongous. Number 10 for your home slice is Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
So these aren't my usual typical like top 10. Or at least I wasn't thinking it might be one at the time. But the thing about this movie is pardon my French, but holy shit. The action is probably some of the best action that I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Yeah, I've seen it and it is good. And it is edge of your seat, like action-packed to the max.
So this is a big view of mine, but I think, you know, like there's a big debate about objectivity, subjectivity. And of course, that will be got into in due course. But the thing is, I think, you know, there is some things about being objective in terms of what a movie's trying to achieve. And, you know, you could look at like comedies, like Austin Powers, for example, and be like, what the hell is this film trying to achieve? But the goal of that is completely different to certain other movies. And I think, and same with John Wick, for example. And I think you don't need a lot of like story or meat on the bone. You just need a simple good thing. And then everything else is just in how they film the action and the energy it gives you. And I think Mad Max is one of the first films that I was like, holy shit. Like this feels like a roller coaster.
Like whilst you're watching it, yeah.
I think there's something about, obviously, just for reference, like we had a couple films back in the day during the Wanted Duck productions. Yeah. But
masterpieces.
I don't think our knowledge is that expertise on
on filmmaking. No, I know what you mean. Like, it's important to put that out there. By no means do we claim it to be experts or films. We just like them, and then it's fun to talk about.
Don't you worry. We will try and slip terminology in there as much as possible.
If push comes to shove.
But you know, that's just how it do be sometimes. Anyway,
agreed, mate.
Back to the movie. The zoom in shots. Again, technical terminology there.
Nice.
Like shit, like just how quick it cuts, and like I think the frame rate's higher or something, or they something. I think they do something. They chop out frames. Yeah.
Color as well.
But just from that first like opening scene of where, you know, it's just like this open desert. The guy just tells so much with each shot.
Yeah.
I think that might be cinematography, but I actually don't have a clue.
Yeah, no, it would be.
But and I think the thing about it is it's just non-stop. Yeah. And there's the way it's filmed in the action, but the second thing is the universe itself. I know it's a reboot, I know it's a remake, but like that universe, like the amount of detail that goes into like all the different clans, like the bullet farming people.
Yeah.
And it's such an inventive way of looking at an apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun, but there's also like a bit of humanism to it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those movies that I just was like, I did not know a movie could do that to me. And that's one of my main reasons for saying something in the top 10. It's just like, holy shit, I didn't know a film.
Tom Hardy as well.
Hit me like that.
Tom Hardy's good.
Yeah. He's humongous.
Yeah, that's a good opener. It's a strong opener. It's a film I've seen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've seen it and I did enjoy it when I watched it. It's very intense, but it's definitely very enjoyable. My 10th is quite a switch up in vibe. But it's just one that I absolutely... It's always been a film that I've really liked, but I've never would have said top 10. But I reckon that just about gets in there. And that's Ghostbusters.
Oh,
Ghostbusters.
Jesus Christ.
I love Ghostbusters. Like, it's just so entertaining. Like, when I was younger, I loved it because it was one of the first, like, scary quote-unquote films my parents allowed me to watch. Obviously, it's not that scary.
You're a big man now. You've grown up.
Yeah, but it was the first thing I saw that had, like, some kind of, like, ghost that could be scary in parts in it, and I loved it then because of that. And then now I'm older, you watch it back and it is really funny. Like, it's perfect for a young audience and an old one too. Like, to watch it as an adult, it's got
like hidden
it's
adult
quite
jokes.
adult stuff. And yeah, like Bill Murray is one
he's
of the most
cheeky guy.
charismatic men on stage in that film. It's mad. Sigourney Weaver as well is his love interest.
What a woman.
Yeah, and mate, it's just a joke film. I just love it. Like, partly for nostalgia reasons, but partly because I've watched it back recently and it really holds up.
Mate, I had the Ghostbusters video game for it.
Oh yeah,
and fucking hell, it was incredible. Again, pardon my French for those young listeners out there, but it was so good. Like, the world is so good, and like, and the game was incredible. But my favorite is like the chemistry between the four of them.
Yeah, it's class.
Like, it's Winston, isn't it? Winston, Egon,
Venkman.
Is that Dan Aykroyd?
I can't remember. I think
the
so,
guy
yeah.
who isn't.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah. That's Venkman.
He's
no,
so
or is Peter Venkman? Peter Venkman might be Bill Murray's character. But anyway, I know the character you're talking about, and he's jokes. He's so funny.
We haven't really done our homework for this one, off the cuff. But I just think the comedy aspect of it, because that's one thing my parents always talked about. What's the guy who looks like
looks like
Austin Powers a little bit? Yeah,
he's called Rick something, isn't he? I think.
Yeah,
but he's
Rick
funny.
Moranis. I think
That's it. Yeah.
His character is incredible.
Yeah,
it just like
it's
just the perfect amount of comic relief.
Yeah, it really
and like the whole stuff when Sigourney Weaver's just like possessed.
She's the key master.
Yeah,
or the gatekeeper, and then he's just this guy.
Just like I'm getting some tonight, mate.
Oh mate, he is a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that film. It's jokes.
Yeah, I think the whole like kind of aesthetic of New York in that time, was it like 80s or 70s?
Yeah, the film came out 85, I think.
Yeah, that.
And I think it's set contemporarily to when it was.
Yeah,
like
so that New York in the 80s, just that little bit of class, but just like
Oh mate, it's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that'd be my 10.
The double digits have been completed. This next one is
enough.
This next one we actually. This next one, oh god, I don't know what to start with a quote or not. It's groovy, baby.
Oh, here we go.
Such a bad accent. Oh my god.
It's alright, mate. We need to get Ollie in here on the sound.
Alright, baby.
That was better. Oh fucking hell, it is funny. It is funny.
The film we were indeed talking about, for any of those of you who know us and my personality, which mostly comes from this film, it's Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Already slipped the name a couple times,
obviously.
but
he was always going to come up, wasn't he? He was always going to.
Yeah, but
Mike Myers slinking his way into the list.
Shagadelic. But the thing about this film that I think is incredible is, one, I watched it when I was 7.
That is so funny.
It's such a raunchy movie.
It really is. Did most of it just go over your head?
No, I didn't even.
Surely.
I might have even been younger than 7, because I remember I didn't know.
How did you come around? How did it arise that you were watching that?
I found the DVD
and just slapped it in.
Yeah, mate.
Oh my god.
And it's just my sense of humor. I think it's just that style of that niche of just like being so over the top. Yeah. Like just.
It's so ridiculous, but so self-aware.
Yeah,
I
that's
think is
the
best
thing.
way of summarising it.
It's so tongue-in-cheek the entire time. Like it knows every part of it is just having fun and messing about.
Literally. That is what makes it so good.
And
I think it's a good call for it. Like, I can see why you'd have it as top 10 material, because it's not often you get a film that makes you so like it nails what it does like that perfectly, and you just understand it clearly.
Yeah, like, nothing's been done like it.
No, not to the same effect.
Like. Oh god, I'm lost for words. That's so beautiful. The thing is, it's the only comedy that's in my top 10, and the top 10s are like all films. But I think don't know if you ever see this on IMDb, but like IMDb tends to rate certain things higher. This is the average they use. It tends to rate certain things higher than others. Like, and comedies are always ranked like a star lower out of 10.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the way people usually view comedy. It's like, oh, it's really fun, but like, you know, compared to the Shawshank Redemption, like, you know, it's like, oh, it's not an amazing movie.
Isn't it? The classic.
But that's how good Austin Powers is to me. Okay, it's one of the stupidest.
I'm not arguing.
One of the stupidest films. Like when we watched it the other night, we watched it with the rest of our lovely housemates, and two of them who, you know, we've lived with for a year now and have known a long time through uni, and just that stupid sense of humor. Like, one of them actually started understanding where a lot of my jokes came from. I'd reference this.
Use a lot of the material.
I'd reference this movie so many times, and especially some of it, if you don't get the reference, it's quite a sticky situation to be in. But you know what? Like, it's been worth it every time, because when you say it to someone and they bounce back off it, it's
I can imagine.
It's what it's all about. You know? It really
That's
is.
why we play the game.
It's the aim of the game.
The big game.
But see, I'm really tempted to just say some of the lines, but it's too.
Listen, if they get slipped in at a point, they get slipped in.
They do, mate. We might sprinkle them throughout, so stay tuned.
But if the impulse of Austin Powers takes over, your id rises up.
And another thing I was trying to use the example of Austin Powers in terms of like story. Like, you can have all the bells and whistles or something, but I think there is a level of objective storytelling. I'm talking to an English literature undergraduate anyway, but
just English actually is the degree name, but mainly literature.
That's shit.
You know?
That's shit.
Same difference.
That's shit. I've completely lost my train of thought.
Austin Powers, mate.
Oh yeah.
How can you forget the big man?
Yeah, the fact that there's still a good story, like Austin as a character, like, I won't lie, at the end of it, it's still Austin Powers, and a lot of the jokes come from saying things like "hit me" and shit like "oh, stay," but I like to live dangerously.
It's the facial expressions as well. The facial expressions he pulls after he says something, and the comedic timing is good. I remember one bit, I think the bit that made me laugh most before was when, I can't remember exactly what context it comes up, but it just cuts back to I think it's something to do with the sharks, and it goes to Dr. Evil, and they basically tell him they haven't got something, and it holds on his face. Just the look he has is so funny, and it holds it for the perfect amount of time.
The editor is like whoever cut that
absolutely nailed it,
and obviously just choosing the reactions to have, like Austin's like his smirk is like, Jesus Christ.
I'll admit, it took me a while. I was never always.
That's one thing as well.
And it was because I never properly gave it a chance when I watched it, I don't think. But then I watched it and it did just kind of click. Like, this is hilarious.
I really think it's the tongue-in-cheek thing. Like,
it's so
when you realise
it's so rewatchable as well, because there's bits you pick up on that like he didn't even clock before. Because like the only other film I've seen where the vast majority of the lines in it are jokes that can sometimes slip under the radar and sometimes be like the main event, just depending how you're watching it, is Superbad. Like, Superbad is so funny, and even if it doesn't appear in either of our lists, I don't know if it will, it deserves an honourable mention because it is a fantastic film.
We mentioned trying to do a top 5 like comedies, and we came up, well, at least, you know, for me, Austin Powers wasn't it, but those two films, and just couldn't think of any others that compare.
Exactly. I haven't watched something that's as like continuously funny as
they're bloody cultural icons, mate. Austin Powers it sits underneath the radar, like it's beneath the surface, but that's why you got to throw those like references, mate. For better or for worse, mate. But it's worth it in the end. But I need to stop with these tangent lines. The thing about the story, I think, is like, it's not just like, there's loads of spoof movies, right? And a lot of them are like just bad films. But I think that one of the reasons Austin Powers is so good is because it finds a balance of doing that, but also telling a good story. The whole premise, they use something really stupid to come up with a really interesting situation. Fucking hell, I'm going sicko mode on this. I didn't realise
here we go.
I thought this much about Austin Powers, mate.
Got you thinking.
I've got a paper coming out soon on it. I completely just stopped that. Oh my god. What was it? Oh yeah. So I think that they use the ridiculousness of spoof. So like for those of you who haven't been enlightened by watching Austin Powers yet, there's a theme where Austin Powers is a swinging spy agent from the 60s, the swingers era of the UK. One of the places I'd go back to in time if I could.
If you could.
For PG reasons, obviously. But the
Shut
shit
up.
It's starting. I'm trying to make us spend all the time on Austin Powers we can. I will let you get off it soon. I'll try to finish up quick.
You loved it too much.
I do, mate. I could do a whole episode.
Austin Powers special.
2 hours. So he travels into the future because his nemesis, Dr. Evil, also played by Mike Myers, is oh, it is funny how they anyway. See, that's the problem, that the film does that to you. He travels into the future, into the 90s, and it's about this guy from the 60s who just has no idea what's going on, because like everybody's so straight-laced and like the freedom thing's over. And the whole thing is, it's you know, he's someone who didn't hold down a relationship despite being like a huge shagging spy, to, you know, not beat around the bush.
No, yeah.
And he meets this girl, Vanessa. No, yeah, it is Vanessa, played by the wonderful Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ. But the whole story, I think, is about him actually falling in love with her.
Yeah.
And like that's actually quite a, you know, a human story. A guy who comes into a time he doesn't recognise very well. Don't smirk at me, mate.
No, it's just
Don't
funny.
you dare
I
smirk at me.
understand it, but it's just funny humanising us.
No, but mate, I really do think, because you
No, but I know.
like it tells a better story than The Last Jedi, despite the fact that it's literally about a shagging spy.
And it's also hilarious.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It does its job of like being such a good spoof movie, but it also tells a good story underneath that keeps you captivated by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main thing is like it's probably one of I've watched it maybe 6-7 times now, and on the last time we watched it, the 6th or 7th time, I'm telling you, there was still one bit that I just didn't laugh at before, but I now laugh at. Like it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, that's jokes.
So anyway, thank you for your time.
Yeah, honestly,
thanks for coming to my TED talk on Austin Powers.
I think we know what your number 9 was.
Yeah, mate. On to
Very
you.
good, very good. Well, my 9 is a film that I just think it's so good, and it's another one that like I've never really considered it for a top list before, but now I've watched it enough times back, and every time I watch it, it's just so good. And that's Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, I still
the
haven't
animated
seen
mate. Oh my god! Like I love an animated film.
Yes.
Animated films. I could do a list of top animated films, and this is the only one that makes it into my top 10 because it is
That's
just
humongous.
Yeah, mate, it's colossal. It's just the best animated film I've ever seen. Like for one,
Even better than Wallace and Gromit.
I wouldn't class that as a film. It's a TV series, but yeah, I would say it is better
Okay.
if I had to pick one of the two.
Okay.
Though I do love Wallace and Gromit, don't get me wrong. Basically, stop motion animation's sick. Wes Anderson is one of my favourite directors, if not my favourite director now. Anyway, and so to have his like aesthetic and like shot framing with the stop motion animation, it just makes for like it's one of the most visually appealing. Like I just watch it. I can watch it for the storyline, which is great, by the way. There's so many layers to it. Like at the middle of it, he turns. If you watch it from the adult, like more adult perspective, it's a film about Fantastic Mr. Fox having a midlife crisis. Yeah, and he wants one last like hunt. And so he goes on this hunt, and then he gets into the mess, and then it's about him realizing like has what he needs and whatever.
But that's what I mean in terms of like I think there's a bit of fundamental good storytelling, and that is just telling like a part of the human experience. I know this sounds ultra pretentious, right? But I really think it's true, and it's something like an English teacher said to me once that like every story is literally just about telling us about the human condition, and I was like, well, that doesn't bloody narrow it down then. But it really is. It's just different parts of like what it's like to be human, and that's why like you think, oh mate, that's so relatable, like hashtag blah blah blah. But like it really, you know, that's how characters feel like real people to you. Like I know it's different, but like the US Office.
What a show. Yeah,
and again, I won't delve off topic too much, but the characters feel like real people to you, because they just touch on different characters. Like, you know, Jim's whole like Pam thing, like, yeah, we've all been there, mate. But fucking Michael Scott's just like desperate desire for like attention and stuff. You know, we've all had some moments that, or you know, known someone who has, and that story about the midlife crisis is just one that, like, a lot of films would just focus on the animation part of it, which is obviously like a huge part of it, but it doesn't mean anything. I don't know about you, but like imagine that story without like that midlife crisis thing. The characters might suddenly not feel like real characters. The animation then doesn't feel so good.
But I can watch it for like I can watch it in those two. I can watch it for the story and love it, and obviously I watch it both at the same time, but sometimes I can watch it and for like a part of it I'll just take out and just be watching how it's animated, and because it looks so nice. And I think the fact that I can watch it just like that just goes to show what a good film it is. that you can watch from those two perspectives. I think it's sick.
Do you think I've actually only seen a couple Wes Anderson films. I thought I'd seen more.
I've seen quite a few now.
Turns out I haven't.
Which ones have you seen?
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Great film.
I've definitely seen another one, but I can't remember. It's like I've seen films that I didn't realize were Wes Anderson. Is Midnight in Paris?
No.
Anderson? Okay.
Do you remember what happened in the film, or did you think it was?
It's about Owen Wilson.
There's quite a few with Owen Wilson in.
Okay. Well, as I'm asking the question, I will check it up. But do you think the whole animation thing? So is that the only animated film Wes Anderson has done?
No, he's done Isle of Dogs as well, which is a more recent one. That was like 2018, and it had Bryan Cranston voice acting in it.
That's not the
Isle of
pirate
Dogs.
one. Oh.
This one.
Oh
really
my
good.
god.
Yeah, it's really good.
That looks incredible.
Yeah, it's really good.
Just looking very quickly, I think that might be the only Wes Anderson film I've seen.
Wow.
That is embarrassing.
You need to get on that, mate. There's some fantastic films in there.
I'm so sorry.
He's class.
What I was I guess just asking is, do you think, like, because you're, as you said, you're a big fan of animated films.
Yeah.
As I know, it's a big part of the film catalogue for you.
Of course.
But there's so much variety in animated films. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but when you're sitting down and you're a little cozy and you watch it and you just realize, compared to like a different animated film you watched, everything's different because the way you're seeing how it's how the characters are drawn is just completely different. Do you think the part of Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is really cool, is the fact that you can see the other aesthetics of his film, but just done in an animated setting?
Yeah, 100%.
And do you think that translates to every little detail of the anime?
No, it does, mate. If you watch a frame, so Wes Anderson's known in film for not wasting a frame of a film.
Really?
As in a still, literally. And so in this film, so in all of his films, even if it's live action, there's always something going on in the background that you can pick up on. And so that's transferred over into the animation. Like, there's such detail in every little animation.
Makes the world feel alive.
Yeah, and it's stop motion. So you think about the amount of time that they've had to spend putting into that. Yeah. Like, it's really detailed. And I like that in film, like detailed bits. So that's what
Me on the bone.
That film is so good. And yeah, that'd be my number 9.
Yeah. I do need to watch it at some point.
Mate, yeah, highly.
I remember the first time I think I saw the trailer for it, I was just like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Like the animation
it
stuff.
It's quite unsettling. It's quite unsettling.
That's what I was trying to get, the fact just the fact that, like, I've never seen something like, yeah, you get Wallace and Gromit, but just the texture of it.
Yeah.
It's so like farmyardy, like the materials themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is just like, that's just sick in itself. It's about animals and stuff, and even the textures reflect that.
Yeah.
Because you could have a cartoon drawing of an animal, and that would, but the how the image is materializing is actually connected to the theme.
Yeah.
I should probably watch that. Right.
Yeah, I'd recommend.
My number 8.
Film. Fantastic.
Oh god.
Missed a film.
Some dark memories are getting brought up by this one.
What is it?
Interstellar.
Oh shit. Son.
All right.
Oh shit. Big Matty.
This is I think this. Deep breath, Josh. I watched this film very recently, and the funny thing about it is if you've seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you'll know it's about like space. But the main thing about it, with spoiler alerts, I'll say for this film, there might not be for other films, but we'll say in due course. Spoiler alert is the wormhole scene. And so insane. I really enjoyed. Like, I remember we tried watching it chemistry a couple of times, and it was just so boring. Like, I couldn't hear it very well. The dialogue's a bit awful, but and it was just about like sand dust for ages.
Yeah.
And then always just before we got to the space bit, it got turned off. I was like, I don't want to watch a future farmer die.
Yeah.
But then there was one time I watched it where that wormhole scene.
It's crazy.
It's just like,
it's crazy.
I think it's great because you always think, like, I wonder what that thing would actually look like. And there's all the, they've used all these calculations to do it. But it's just the fact that because of the detail and the precision that went into the rendering of it, it looks like something real. Again, you could kind of say, like, what the hell are you talking about? It look real. But I just think, like, Jesus, I'm lost for words. This film frazzles my brain. That's what it does. Course, yeah, just absolutely explodes the head. it's just like wonder, right? So so I didn't know a film could make me feel like genuine
it's fair
wonder
enough.
as much
It's
as
fair
that.
enough.
So
I considered it for that reason. To be fair.
I guess Mad Max is like a roller coaster. Austin Powers is okay. I don't have one for that. It's just Austin Powers.
It's just Austin Powers.
And Interstellar is just like in terms of one emotion I felt during that film, it's just wonder. Like, and then the human elements to it as well, as you know, I said with other stuff, like it's gut wrenching.
Yeah,
It's really asking,
it really
using
is.
story to ask questions like, well, say this is something we haven't done before, what would be the consequences of this if this happened? So
Yeah.
you know, if we had interstellar space travel where people traveled at in time was slower down on Earth compared to their traveling speed. Not really much of a physicist, but
yeah,
what would that mean for family? And that's just one little part of like what's going on, and the whole thing at the end about you know, choosing yourself over like the future of the human race, and just like everybody thinks they'd say make the right decision until they're actually there.
Yeah.
And it's just it's gut wrenching. And the main reason for my fear about this film is I unfortunately had a head injury
Oh no.
not too long ago, a couple months back. I'm safe, don't worry guys. Here to make this podcast. But we watched the film a couple of days after the head injury, you know, we'd had a few drinks and stuff, and
bloody hell, mate.
and it blew my mind again in this new state of being. And you know, head injuries can be quite bad, and I was a bit dazed a lot of the time. And I think the mixture of just this movie and the level I was on, I had a bit of an existential crisis, as Jack was there to know.
Yeah.
Just the whole space shit, mate. It actually like it is. I mean,
okay, mate. Everything alright?
Yes. I literally had to go and get fresh air. I literally had to say, boys, can we pause it, walk outside and just sit and just feel like, holy shit, like existence. And it was quite funny.
That's
but
deep, bro.
I didn't know a movie could do that to me either.
Yeah.
Send me on another level.
I guess it's the mark.
But all was well, because I had a game plan for when I came back in. I ordered a chicken licking.
Yes.
We all did, and it saved the day. But yeah, that I just think, you know, I actually think there are a lot of weaknesses to it as a film, in terms of sometimes it is a bit boring, and some of the things are a bit like, really, but the film has those moments which is like, I didn't know film could do that, and that's why it's in number 8 for me.
Yeah.
I do realize I'm spending quite a bit of time on it, so I need to speed up.
It's a good call.
You don't need to be so
good as well.
polite, come on.
My number 8 is one I saw really recently, actually, for the first time, and I've only seen it once, but it's in my top 10, and that's rare for a film to be able to do that. But like, it was Leon, the Professional.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Great film.
Yeah, that I watched it for the first time recently, and after watching it, like, it was one of those ones where, like, the day after I was like, okay, wow, I really enjoyed that. But then the further I got away from it, the more I thought about it, the more it was just like, geez, like, that was sick.
Yeah.
You know Alt J, the band.
Yeah.
Their song Matilda, where it is about Matilda from Leon.
Really?
You know, at the end when he's
I don't
holding
know
the
Matilda.
bomb and he says, "This is for Matilda."
Yeah.
The really famous line. The main line of Matilda, the Alt J song, is "This is for Matilda."
That's incredible.
It's based on Leon the Professional.
It is like an old, was it like 90s, I think?
Yeah, 90s.
But the thing that's cool about it is it's almost like it's just so arty and cool and
So
stuff. Like,
arty, yeah.
that isn't for everyone. I get that. Like, some movies do come across a bit pretentious sometimes. But it's one of those ones that, for me personally, it was filmed so cool. Like the whole kind of like French environment. It's just classy.
Sick.
It's a bit on the Lolita side in terms of implied messages.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it is a bit. But it's mad. I had no idea Natalie Portman was in it either until I like first watched it, which is crazy.
Yeah, she's so young in it. I didn't realize she acted that young.
Yeah. No, neither did I. That's why it was mad.
1994.
Oh, it's such a good film.
Was it Roman? No, it was Roman Polanski because of the dodginess in it. But
Nah, it's sick.
I think it does. Lolita's a weird book, right? It's one I did for my coursework. It's about basically a paedophile, but it's written from his perspective, and it's really screwed up. But like I think this is like a, I don't know, it hints at the stuff which is so uncomfortable. But like the thing that's nice about the movie, it's just the fact that like he's so protective of her, like the whole way through.
Yeah, it's mad.
And like they're just neighbours, I think. But what happens to her is appalling. Spoiler alert! Just the brutal.
Yeah, mate, it's rough.
Brutal murder of a family, and the film's graphic in it. But
Gary Oldman as the
he's
is
so
fucking good.
Yeah, that
like
again,
he is so good in that film.
That's one of those performances.
So weird.
That must have inspired
so
the Joker performance.
Yeah, no,
like,
it is really like that. Like you can see there's elements there. Like it is weird. Like
that's one of those ones where like someone wrote some lines, but Gary Oldman
he just took over and it is mad.
But yeah, the action's great in it. And
Leon himself just has such a distinctive look about him. Like
it's one of those things that like I love to try and understand why a film's good. That's you know, part of where these conversations come from.
Yeah.
But there's certain cases where just like it's just fucking, it looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like and I can't say anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommended. Definitely in a must-watch list. I'd say.
Class.
Bit of cinematic history.
Class film. Yeah, that's my 8.
Number 7 for me is another bit of cinematic history. Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah, I should have seen that, but I haven't.
It's good. It's about the Vietnam War.
Say no more.
And anyway, moving on. Oh god, that was too textbook.
Yeah, come on, you're better than that.
Yeah, I know.
Better than that, Jones.
I can do better. It's about the Vietnam War, and there's another one called Full Metal Jacket, which I watched and I thought was pretty good. But the thing about I'm a quite big history fanatic, and the Vietnam War I think is just such an interesting, like awful thing that happened. And there's always, you know, like so much media on it that it kind of, I feel like compared to what we were taught, it gets desensitized a lot. But what I think is so cool about, and the whole thing was, you know, you've got America, this perfect quote unquote freedom loving country, that's in the Cold War, and they go over to this, you know, like kind of underdeveloped country to fight for their freedom. But then they realize that like they might be the bad guys, because in the fighting in the name of freedom, they're like killing and murdering so many people, and there's this huge sense of like disillusionment. Yeah. So this whole like, what are we fighting for, is a big theme in the Vietnam War. And what I like about Apocalypse Now is like, I feel like the features of the film like really make you feel part of that. So you watch Full Metal Jacket and it's just like, it's a bit screwed up, and it's like it's set in this cool environment, Tropic Thunder, another great Vietnam War film. Yeah. But the film is just, it's so chaotic that the whole Vietnam country feels like an alien place. The way it's filmed is very like kind of horror-y, mystical, and it's just it drags on, but in a way that's always entertaining. But the length of it is so, it focuses on the little parts, like Saving Private Ryan, of like the conversations between the soldiers, the bits you never see in any other media. Yeah. But then it gets weird, and you know, spoilers. There's this one bit where they're just along the river and they've just been fighting for days, and they come across this French family, because the French used to be the colonial rulers of Vietnam, and they're just like these people just living in the middle of the war, still just in this house. Yeah. And like everybody's just trapped there, and they're like, we're not leaving, like we will die here. And it's just these really upper class French people, and it's done in a way that's so like ghostly. Oh my god. Like there's like mist and stuff, and it's like you really feel like what like, that sounds where so am good. I? Like I've got to watch that. And it really, I think out of a lot of films you tend to watch, it really captures the chaos, like the otherworldliness of like being at war in a country. And I think that's part of that disillusionment I mentioned. Like, you know, you always imagine going over and seeing like you're ordered to like burn a village or something, like shit like that happened, and the moral like nightmare they must be having. And I just think the film really makes you feel that by the end of it. And like it's another one that has a huge build up to something, and it pays off. Yeah. And like that's good. Yeah. Like the whole story, a bit like Saving Private Ryan, it's about going to get this guy. Yeah. Like recover him, and the weirdness and the chaos just keeps going. You're just in this like tribal world, man. Yeah. Bro, it's scary. But yeah, bro, it's so cool. But yeah, that again, it made my top 7 because I didn't know a film could really capture that, and like it's just so I haven't seen another film like it.
Yeah. Good call. 7 for me is Whiplash. 2014's Whiplash. Excellent.
I'm here all night.
Very
ladies
good,
and
very
gentlemen.
Whiplash, Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons. It's just like one of the grittiest. Like the music element of it is so interesting, and just the like the interactions on stage that happen between Miles Teller's character, J.K. Simmons in that film is unbelievable. Like unbelievably good. Like you watch back his performance, he won an Oscar for it, Best Supporting Actor. And like it is mad, like he pushes this guy to the absolute limit. 'Cause and like it gets very dark.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, you realise like there's been this like dark undercurrent kind of going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then as he just gets more and more involved and obsessed, like you see all the other like aspects of his life falling down as he's just like become focused on this absolute obsession. And like it is mad. And when you like watch it with that, it is quite a dark film, like in a lot of ways. Like it's really about the damage obsession can do to an individual, and like how like isolated it makes them and shit.
I think a really interesting question we always comes up whenever we watch some artists when we're enlightened, and it's just like, holy crap, like these people they're just such a, like they live and breathe what they do. Yeah. They're obsessed with like being this good about it. Yeah. Same with sports people. It's just like,
exactly.
Like to be that good. It's a conversation we have with our mate Finn actually a lot. But to be that good at something, you just have to like be a bit strange to the point where like you don't value other things. Like, obviously, there's loads of exceptions, but like the people who just stand above their game, like, you know, Jimi Hendrix played guitar constantly every day because that's what mattered to him.
Yeah.
You know, the people like Novak Djokovic, absolute freak. Like he is, like everything he's doing is geared towards winning tennis. Yeah. And he will deal with like crowd, like, okay, I want to go into tennis, man. Somebody stop it.
Different podcast.
But a little mask reference. But the thing about what movie are we talking about?
Huh?
What movie are we talking about? Whiplash.
Whiplash, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really need to keep a lid on this. Holy crap. Yeah, being obsessed with something to be really good at it, like how different you have to be. And I don't know if there's that many movies which have captured in such like an artistic way, as you say, just like the where the elements are just falling down bit by bit. Yeah. And it's a dark movie to watch, like as in literally the lighting of it. Like remembering a lot of the scenes now, like it's pretty much mostly nighttime, I think.
A lot of the time, it's really early in the morning, but they're in like dark studios. Yeah, the lights in the studio are dark.
No, I don't think all studios are that dark. People need to see each other.
I presume not. I mean, they can see each other. It's not that dark.
Look, man,
but I know what you mean. It's gloomy, like.
But the thing is that ending scene, what it builds up to, just like, and it, you know, he's sacrificing all these things. Yeah. And then at the end, it's showing you what he was sacrificing it for. Yeah. And like it does it in a way that it's capped. You know, we talked about Mad Max and Fantastic Mr. Fox, just how you get captivated by something. Yeah. Like your eyes like you're completely lost in what's going on. Your eyes are glued to the screen. Yeah. And that last scene is a roller coaster. Yeah. It's fantastic. Like that, it's one of the best endings to a movie I've seen. Like 9-10 minutes of just absolute madness, like fucking peaking and troughing like constantly, like, and it's jazz and very jazzy, very very jazzy, it has to be said. Yeah, that's my number 7. I've loved that film for ages now. Like, and that's one that's actually gone down a little bit, maybe. Like it was always a bit higher in my top 10, but now it's a 7. Still strongly placed. Yeah, great film. Number 6 for me. I know you'll be a big fan of this. First appearance of I think probably one of our favourite actors. Oh, we'll have to do an actors top 5. No, of course, yeah. One of my favourites is Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh yeah, DiCaprio in Shutter Island. Shutter Island, wow, it's that high up. Yeah. Okay. I watched it again recently, to be fair, and it did hold up more than I thought it was going to. Yeah, it is still a really well made film. I think compared like all the films so far have been a bit like quite there's one particular thing about that film that is just so different that it stands out. Apocalypse Now, Interstellar, Austin Powers, and Mad Max. They're all such like everything about it is so unique. The way it's filmed, Shutter Island is a bit more like textbook. Like it is a bit more bread butter the way it's filmed. It's just on a really classic thriller thing. But I like a good thriller, right?
Yeah.
You know, like any man, I just love a detective case. And the thing about Shutter Island is it just hits every note that you want from a thriller. Everything from the kind of uneeriness, the twist. Spoiler alert.
It goes very deep into psychology.
Yeah,
like the psychological aspects of characters.
Exactly what thrillers should be.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just, you know, I think a lot of our films are about descent into just something that is just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And Shutter Island encapsulates that.
Yeah.
And there's so many parts where, like, excuse me, it just keeps you guessing. You think like, oh, maybe it could be, you know, this thing that the twist. Okay, I really don't want to say the twist. Yeah, I know it's a spoiler alert, but it's well, you know, it's one of those Sixth Sense twists.
It is a seriously good twist. The first time I watched it was a really like fuck me moment. Like,
and I just think it again. You know, I feel like certain movies you have to judge them based on what it's trying to do as a film. Like if you judge John Wick in terms of like character development or like rich lore and stuff like that, like it's about a guy trying to save his dog. Oh, sorry, trying to avenge his.
Please continue.
trying to avenge his dog, but just it's an action film, and it just puts all the money into the action.
Yeah.
And I think Shutter Island does the exact same thing for a thriller, and it's just one hell of a ride.
Yeah, it's a good film.
And DiCaprio.
I do. I'm a big fan of DiCaprio. I don't think I've actually got a DiCaprio film in my top 10, which feels a bit wrong, but
you what?
I know, but he's fucking good. Number 6 for me. Another good actor, to be fair. Big Christian Bale in American Psycho. American Psycho. What a film. What a film. Great book as well.
Christian Bale as well.
I just loved how fucked up that film is.
Yeah.
And then the layers of like consciousness they kind of go into, like that makes you question so much whether like how much of this is real, is all of this real, is none of it real? Which character's head are we in right now? In like which layer of this fucking
Jesus,
or
mate.
it could all be
Jesus,
real.
You're frazzling my brain now,
mate. Like it's so good. It's so well made. I love the like it's just one of those films that's just messed up, but like it's entertaining to watch it. Like someone who is that fucked, a psychopath, and just go on this rampage around New York. And the best, like, it's so good with its criticism of like fucking. That's what the decadent upper class is like. Like they have all this money, so they can. Kind of they have all this money, so he can just hide. Like he can just cover this up. Is
it satire? Did you just?
I think it's satire. Yeah, a bit of satirization of that upper class and just their insane wealth and what they can get away with that wealth. But also the other layer is what that damage that wealth does to them as an individual as well.
You know, and
they play off each other. Obviously,
it's one of those classic. I think like all the literature stuff. Like, you know, you have like. In books, you have literature and fiction. Like, I didn't realize that that's actually a category if you look on some websites. I think one of the differences is like literature, like especially anything like, I mean, that's the point of satire and stuff. But like when it's got a message it's bringing. Yeah. Sometimes it can be a bit over the top. I think like some films is just so obvious, but the way certain films like American Psycho tell this message of like these people are getting this wealthy and like. It's actually demented what's going on, but taking that to the extreme in terms of demented serial killer level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
I just think, you know, like, wow, like how the hell does someone write that?
Yeah, it's a good book as well, actually.
Yeah.
The book's actually way more graphic.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Way more intense. There's some really uncomfortable passages to read from that. But I think the film's class.
The whole scene with the cat and the box, like it's one of those things where it's got that question of like, is it real or not?
Yeah.
Which, you know, will be coming up later again. There's a little hint towards what's higher up in the ranks.
Honestly, but there's only one thing it could be.
Yeah, mate. If you know, you know, and you will know. I just think that whole like layer of, was it real or not? Like. Makes you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole part of the insanity. Like films that look at it are really good at. It's just like by telling you as the audience you don't know whether it's real or not, that involves the audience and that like nothing feels right. And to be insane, like, you know, I might be classed as a little insane by some, but I don't think I'm that bad. Nobody knows what it's like. And I think my best guess is that film gives us a little window.
Yeah, top class. Numero 6 done.
Number 5.
Yeah, what are you saying?
This
Getting into
one.
the top 5 now. Well, scaling
What?
the
It's only
ladder.
5 minutes. Wow, we got it quick. Blade Runner 2049. Not the first one, which will probably surprise a lot of you. I'll probably have a lot of people tell me off for this, but the first one's incredible for its time. But Blade Runner 2049 is probably a film I looked forward to the most seeing at the cinema for a good 3 or 4 years. Just because I realized it was after I got into films a lot, and I realized all the people directing a lot of the stuff I loved. All the people directing a lot of the stuff I loved, I didn't realize they were by the same person. So I don't think they're already on this list yet, but this is one of them, and there's one ahead. Is Dennis? Jesus, I cannot pronounce his name. Villeneuve. He's doing the new Dune film, and he did Arrival as well. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, you got some homework to do as well, mate. But I don't know. Because it's hard. Nolan, it's so obvious what he does. Wes Anderson, it's so obvious. Tarantino, it's so obvious what's Tarantino, what's Nolan, what's Anderson. But this guy, I can't put my finger on it. But there's just this spacey reflection, and just the world's his answering of sci-fi questions just feels so real. And Blade Runner 2049, I just think the aesthetic of it. We're sitting here with a freshly minted poster. Actually, I just got of it.
Up on the wall.
Yeah. And it's just one of those films. The artwork for it. I think it's Roger Deakins. I'm not entirely sure, but Roger Deakins is one of probably the most famous cinematographer for very good reason, and it's every frame is almost a piece of artwork in itself, and there's just images that again it's that thing of I don't know what makes it cool, but this poster right here of a guy just in the sand in this red mist standing by himself in some badass coat. I don't know. The film, a big theme of the film is loneliness in this futuristic sci-fi world, and a lot of it's this question of am I human or not, and what it means to be human.
Yeah.
More in a literal sense compared to what I've been talking about in terms of you have these. Oh my god, I forgot what they're called. About robots. Yeah, it is Roger Deakins.
He did Skyfall.
Yeah, mate.
Oh, nice.
It's about being basically a robot or not. And that's a big theme of the film, but the story itself is I just think it's not. There are films which have a better story, I think, but the way it's shot is just it was eye candy the entire movie.
I
just the looking at the colours range. Bit weird, but I did just go around looking at all the Google images for it at one point and looking out for the film and waiting for the film, and I don't know. Again, it's one of those films I could talk a lot more about, but I shall not because we're running out of time.
Yeah. For me, 5 is a classic. I'd say one I've watched, probably one of my most watched films, and still gets me in the feels every time. That's Good Will Hunting.
Great.
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, young writers of the film as well as actors when they were that young. Robin Williams, R.I.P. For real, R.I.P. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Him in that film is amazing. Matt Damon in that film is amazing too. All the different strands of it. There's some.
I didn't know
Matt
Damon wrote it.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote it.
And Ben Affleck, yeah,
they wrote
that guy.
it together. And they're both there's a couple of monologues in that film that are absolutely ridiculous. Insanely deep and insanely well cast and held and shot.
I think
and
we
spoken.
know the big one though.
The
park one.
Yeah, Robin Williams in the park is insanely good.
I've actually listened to that probably once every 2 or 3 months just to remind myself of the bloody wisdom.
Yeah, it's heart-wrenching stuff.
And Robin Williams as well. That's one of the celebrity deaths that actually affected me the most.
Yeah, for
along
sure,
with
I agree.
Mac Miller.
Yeah,
let's not go down there. It's a rough route. But Robin Williams is again, I don't know what they're doing so well. It's what really annoys me about films, to be honest. I want to be able to explain, and I think you can see I'm trying my best where I can to try and explain what about a film I thought was good.
Yeah.
And obviously that there's huge levels of subjectivity. I make clear with Blade Runner, I love the aestheticism of it, but you know what? It's just not everybody's cup of tea. But this film, Good Will Hunting, I don't know why they feel like such real characters. Why their struggles is actually something that's just feels so universal.
Yeah.
At risk of sounding incredibly cheesy, but
honestly.
that monologue, it's just it feels like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
This, you know, the old man when they're young. You know what,
What do you
a
mean?
myth, like you know, like those like tales where they're from history and they just get passed down, like a fable.
Yeah.
So I don't mean like Grimm Brothers fairy tale.
No.
Jesus, I've dug myself a hole. It just feels like a bit of a legend, in that. Jesus Christ, somebody help me.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm chatting out my.
It's good. It's a good speech.
It's a good
The
speech.
where
Okay.
it's shot is amazing.
I-
Like, in the part, the setting's so
Okay,
nice.
here we go. I'm gonna make my best attempt to save myself. I think the whole old people with their wisdom versus younger people with their like energy and
Naivety.
yeah, and it like because the whole thing is Will Smith is Will Smith.
Will Smith. Will Smith. Will Smith. No.
Wait, did we? I'm talking about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Will Smith. Imagine Robin Williams doing the speech in Good Will Hunting, and then he just turns around and it's Will Smith sitting there.
The
on
laugh
bench.
track, mate.
Fresh Prince Bel-Air theme
What?
starts playing.
What, Matt Damon?
Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. That's the character's name.
Yeah.
Not Will
Not Will.
Smith.
Yeah, no.
Will.
Honestly.
Will.
Good Will Smith.
Will is the genius of the film. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing. And it's the whole thing. Like a lot of people think about, you know, the peak of like a human mind is geniusness and stuff like that, and like that's what it's all about. And the whole, I think that early premise is like this guy is a genius, but like so many other parts of his life are so screwed up because of it.
Yeah.
He's got this really troubled background, and there's something beautiful about that as well. This
For
kid
sure.
who's, you know, like the janitor is the guy who solved all the math equations and all that stuff. But the whole old man speech is just like, you know, like you can tell me everything about Michelangelo, but you know
Yeah.
what the Sistine Chapel smells like. You couldn't tell me what the Sistine Chapel smells
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Just like what life's about. I think
For sure.
it's a huge philosophical film. And
It is, and psychological. Mate, the scene where Matt Damon breaks down is
Oh, no.
some tear-jerking cinema.
yeah, I just think like that speech. Sorry to go back to the speech. It's
Honestly,
incredible.
We get it, mate.
But
You like the speech.
but I think it's just an old man telling
Back to the
telling a young man about what life's all about, and you don't have an idea what it's all. You have no clue what it's all about,
Yeah.
but you will learn. I think that is one of the like coolest little like drops of bloody storytelling.
Yeah.
I think I've run out of words now. I'm sorry.
Great film. Great film.
Mate,
We haven't had any clashes on the list yet.
no.
I'm surprised. Maybe none of them will. What's next? What's up?
I don't think we will now. Actually.
Makes it interesting.
Yeah. I might start swinging soon.
Honestly, you're
Catch
asking
these
for it.
hands.
You're asking for it. Number 4, I believe.
Love Actually.
Okay.
So
Okay.
okay.
Now, I can understand, but there are better rom-coms. There was one rom-com I considered for the top 10.
Okay. I'll fucking kill you.
Have you seen Notting Hill?
No, I haven't. To be fair.
See,
Okay.
Notting Hill's like Love Actually, but better.
Okay. Love Actually. Okay.
Trust me.
Okay. I was in a mood where I needed a film like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was like deep in winter near Christmas, and I was like, you know, just a bit fed up of stuff for some reason, and I watched this film and I was like, Jesus, it's such a cross section
Yeah,
of
it's
the
mad.
theme of, you know, it's no homo, theme of love.
Actually.
But, the Jesus Christ. The Severus Snape is in it for starters.
Big
Alan Rickman
Severus.
is incredible.
Hugh Grant is amazing.
Oh, good, yeah. What? There's such a huge.
I
cast.
love the scene so much where Hugh Grant's dancing to the music and then he turns around and just stops dead
Yeah.
and the music cuts out at the perfect time. That made me laugh
Yeah.
so much.
It is funny, but I you know, there's not too much for me
The
to say
fact
on
that
this.
Hugh Grant's a prime minister is just
Yeah.
funny
Oh my
anyway.
god. Yeah. Like I think it's quite self-aware in that sense, but the cross-section part of it is just what I really like. There's so many films about love and just like this pretty much bread and butter story.
Yeah.
But this does like shows you a bit more like it turns out like this a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That Alan Rickman story is the scene at the airport is just like,
Yeah,
oh my god, it
that's
ended
mad.
like that. The
Yeah.
Keira Knightley and Was it Obi-Wan Kenobi? No, it wasn't.
No. It's Keira Knightley, and she gets married to a friend.
Yeah, but who's the guy?
Oh, I can't remember his name. I don't think he was.
Anyway.
Yeah. But then he's in love with her. It turns out as well.
And it just doesn't work out for him. I just think like it's, and also his style of just, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where like I have no idea how he gets that little like aesthetic of just like family stuff done so artistically, because it's pretty basic what he's filming compared to
of course,
Mad Max, for example, or Shutter Island, all that stuff. But it's just like he makes like the everyday life things like just look incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 4 for you.
Yeah, that's big. Number 4 for me is one we actually did mention earlier, that I have to come back to, and that's the Grand Budapest Hotel. A return to Big Wes and his absolute masterpiece of a film. But Grand Budapest Hotel, I felt like, is just the culmination of all of Wes Anderson's works. Like, he's got all of the big cast, massive storyline, I think insane aesthetic.
It's great when a director just has the same cast they use.
Absolutely insane aesthetic through the whole film. Like, it's just, it's so good. It's so many good actors.
What do you think its biggest strengths are over other films? So what differentiates that from? Why is that in there when other films aren't in your top 10 list?
This one is because it's such a spectacle. Like, it's a big, like, epic plotline and storyline set in this really grandiose place, but it's done in quirky animation style, which is Wes Anderson, like his style, not animation but quirky filming style.
Yeah.
And it just how they're dressed, how they're coloured, and like the mesh of those two things together is not something you come across that often in film. That gets it so spot on. It's funny as well.
It is
like in
funny.
Such a like odd way. Like it's such a different brand of humor.
Yeah.
Like really different. Like so like sharp and like I don't really know how to describe it. But it just makes you laugh in ways a lot of other things don't.
I think a lot of your selections, which I think what's really cool about a lot of them, is it's just like, again, like we mentioned with Leon, you just can't quite put your finger on. Like,
it's just a film that does it.
You can talk about the. We are trying really hard to. You can talk about all the like craft elements of it, and context, and satire and meaning and all that stuff. But like, it's not just that individually. How it comes together sometimes is just like. It's like a bloody symphony. Sorry, I'm trying really hard to sound cool and pretentious here.
It's good stuff. Love that film.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's very good.
Number 3 for me.
Top 3 now.
Another tearjerker. I couldn't. To be honest, I think this one does beat Love Actually. It isn't in number 3. It's above Love Actually. It's the same type of film, but it's about time.
Okay, yeah.
Another film. I don't know what. I think I was always just like, I need a nice rom-com to cheer me up.
Right.
Put it on. I was like, Jesus, I was not prepared.
Is it really deep? I've heard it's quite deep.
It's deep, and it's just, again, so it's like Good Will Hunting. It's one of those films that's about a guy's life. The story's just about this one guy's pretty, average life.
He's the ginger guy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not in the Vietnam War. He's not like flying around a spaceship.
About time.
He's
not flashbacks.
Jesus Christ, I'd watch that. It's about literally just a guy's normal life and the normality of it, and the fact that he makes that, so again, like with Love Actually, he makes something that should be mundane so wholesome, so gripping, so quirky and funny. A bit like I think he's probably the closest on my list to Wes Anderson. I don't actually know the name of the guy who does the films, but it is one guy who does all these Notting Hill. Love Actually, About Time ones, but I just think it teaches a really nice lesson of like, and it's why it takes a while to realize what the film's about with the title and that, but just enjoying the little things. And I know it's so bloody cheesy, but what's great about it is the film.
It's so no context, Jevons. It's so bloody cheesy.
Oh mate, it is. The message is really cheesy. Just enjoy the little things, but like the film does it in such a way that like. Using this plot device of I won't say it again because it's a spoiler, but using this particular plot device which allows things to be interesting in this guy's life, it just asks this question of what's important, and he realizes. And I think it's a film everybody could do with watching just to enjoy the little things.
Yeah, mate. Very good. Mine is quite a different film. I'll say that much. Maybe perhaps there can be more of a complete contrast.
Turn up the volume.
Numero 3 for me is Inglourious Bastards. Quentin
Crikey.
Tarantino's finest.
I don't actually have any Tarantinos on here.
That's my favourite Tarantino. I love that film. Like, I've watched it. That will also be one of my most watched films. As a visual spectacle, it's incredible. The story in Tarantino fashion, like how they all link up, is amazing.
Yeah.
The different plot lines. The villain is insanely good. Christoph Waltz in that film, I'm pretty sure he won an Oscar for that, is unbelievably good. He speaks 3 languages fluently through the film and plays the most perfect, like, evil commander imaginable. Like, the big finale is insane. Like, in the cinema, like, it just goes batshit crazy. There's so many really funny bits. Like, there's some of the funniest moments in the film I've seen. Like, Brad Pitt as the Italian in absolute gold, and Eli Roth as the Italian as well. It's so funny when they're just like miming and doing the accents and stuff. Just gets me creasing. Brad Pitt is unbelievable
in the American accent as well.
Brad Pitt's acting in that film is phenomenal.
It's like, you do forget with great films like again, there's so many class films that didn't make it the cut into the very prestigious lists of course, Josh and Jack's top 10.
Tricky to get into.
But Brad Pitt, like, has been in some films like Seven that are just, and Fight Club, which are just so, like, seriously good films for this, like, thing it's going for. No kind of sense of humor, but in the films that do have a bit of like a sense of humor, like, his comedic timing
is perfect.
It's unbelievable.
It's spot on. It's fun. That's part of the reason I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so much. As well. That honestly has probably slipped up to my second favorite Tarantino. And, like, it's mainly because I just was enjoying watching DiCaprio and Brad Pitt so much. Like, they just held the stage unbelievably well.
They are like, titans of the industry.
Like, so much charisma. Brad Pitt in that is really funny in a lot of places as well. That's a bit of a different Tarantino one in that it has a big finale, but not on a big scale. It's in, like, an enclosed tight space, but shit just, like, really hits the fan.
I think for me, my favourite part of the Inglourious Basterds is the opening scene. So we rewatched it recently, and I'm someone who, like, I think Tarantino's amazing, but, like, sometimes I'm a bit like he is like indulging himself a little bit. We won't go into that debate.
I don't like that. I don't like that being brought up when I'm discussing Inglourious Basterds, mate.
Put those fists down. No,
listen.
But
agree to disagree.
I think it's getting a bit Stevie in here.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
I think
just watch it next time, mate.
Okay. That opening scene on the rewatch, there's so much about it, like the capturing of the tension of this whole, like,
crazy
Holocaust thing, which is, we did a lot of this for both of our history A level.
Yeah.
And the Nazis, I think, is one of those. Sorry to bring it back to history, but you know how it goes. But the whole question of, like, these guys did something so awful. Did they not realize, like, that Mitchell and Webb sketch? Did they not realize they're the bad guys? And it's just, it's such a huge question. Like, how did these guys do this? And I think Christoph Waltz's character is so good because, like, what's chilling, a bit like American Psycho, is, like, he's so acclimatized and so psychopathic in his, like, this is just business to him.
About what he's doing is
and
crazy.
Like, the fact that ideology that was penetrated everywhere.
Mate,
like,
it's mad.
Believing that these people aren't people.
Yeah.
And at the first scene, I think the way it comes across is, like, he goes and talks to him normally, and then there's a glass of milk bit, and just, like, and it's just so quiet. And then there's points where you start to tell, like, he doesn't see this guy as human. Yeah. Like, he really doesn't. And then it's like talking about the people, like they're animals beneath.
Yeah. Mate, like, that film, I think that performance, Christoph Waltz, would be one of them that I would, if I could, go to a studio of a film being made and watch it live on set.
Don't spoil the next list, mate.
Like, yeah, that could be a good list, actually. That performance would be what, like, imagine seeing that in person.
Yeah.
I can just picture Tarantino watching him do that and just be like, fucking hell, we're onto a winner here.
Yeah.
Like, because his... Like, first of all, the screenplay is unbelievable, as Tarantino's always is.
Yeah.
But, like, the way that Waltz delivers it, not just, like, verbally, but, like, his facial expressions, his body language, everything is, like, so perfectly villainous. that like Tarantino, like the villain in that film is genuinely like close to as good as I've seen villain-wise in a movie film. Like he's such a good antagonist.
He's so out of reach of the protagonist as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah, my God. Yeah.
He's a bit Darth Vader-ish, and one of the things I think a bit like Jaws as well. What the hell has happened to my laptop?
Like in that case,
you're
a
little pussy bitch.
I like
you can't handle
that like that, mate. I like other films that are like that, but it was just for some reason that one, and it might have been the day, might be the mood, but
okay.
something didn't do it for me. I've only watched that once.
On a serious non-banter note, fair enough.
Thank you.
I think the day you watch a film is huge. Again, these probably should have said this a lot earlier on, but these aren't what we think are the top 10 best films of all time.
No. It's personal favourites.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is, you have to choose what goes into... There's a lot of films.
Yeah.
There's a lot of films out there. And 10 is a very small number out of a lot of films. And for me, a lot of it's like, did that film make... Like, there's a point during a film I watch and go like, okay, this is a top 10 contender.
Yeah.
Like it's like the wormhole scene in Interstellar. The opening dance routine of Austin Powers. Yeah. Pretty much the Mad Max opening. The Apocalypse Now when they go into the jungle for the first time. I probably should go over every single one, but there's just that one moment where I'm like,
I know what you mean.
Like all the building blocks of that, and that's the thing. Like a lot of films I watch and like that was incredible, but I didn't have that top 10 moment. And that top 10 moment is like I'm on the edge of my seat. It's a bit cliche phrase of saying it, but like I literally, this film is like I'm not thinking about anything else. A lot of the time I watch a movie and my mind might wander a little bit. Not one bit during this. Yeah. I'm there. I'm fully there. It feels like when I'm away. If like Apocalypse Now, I watched in different sections, and when I was away from the film, it felt like I need to get back into it. Like that's cool. that because it felt like it was existing in the back of my head.
Yeah, that's cool.
And also endings are huge. Some films are such big contenders, but like what they promised in terms of story they didn't deliver on. Prisoners is one that delivered for me in terms of it's a classic case of kid goes missing. There's so many thrillers on that. Big part is you've got Jake Gyllenhaal and Wolverine himself.
Yeah,
Wolverine's the daddy, mate. He's the guy who's had his kids stolen. And the separate thing of Jake as a detective, I think, is just incredible. He's such a weird guy.
He is good.
But the whole idea of this guy has to be weird to catch weird people in the first place, I think is a really, really cool take on it. And it's just the whole town so unsettling, and there's this building there's this building eeriness, and I was just like, and there's one point, again, it's not a huge reveal, but when he goes into the house and there's all this stuff everywhere, like that was the top 10 moment for you. I was like, I didn't know it went this far. I think it's not like
it just builds and builds, and it continues. Oh, it's crazy.
Like, and that's you realize what you're dealing with.
I'm kind of getting the feeling a little bit now of just like
chills.
It really is. It's like it's like adrenaline. Like you're seeing stuff that's really thought provoking. What a lot of stuff I did in one of my modules is like stuff to do with like the generation of horror and terror. Yeah. And how like different versions of mixed media do it, and like in that film, like the feelings of like terror as like stuff's building, because it gets to a point. So obviously through the whole film you suspect something's going on. Yeah. And then it gets to a point where you're like, I know something fucked is going on, but I have no idea. And then suddenly it all just like it takes ages to get to that tipping point, and then once you find out one thing about it, the whole thing just
that's that house scene I was talking about.
And it's everything just comes rushing on you, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's just classic build and the drop smacks.
Mate, it really does.
Sorry, mate, you've described how I felt about the film in a way I didn't really realise, to be honest. It's one of those films that like I haven't actually ended up having that many conversations about. I've just been like, oh, have you seen Prisoners? No. Watch it. End of
conversation. See you later. Same time next week.
See ya. And that's a very poetic way to put it. The build up, I think, as you said, and the fact that it just comes tumbling down, but the tumble is
such dramatic fashion.
The tumble is it feels like a tumble because you've gone so invested in the characters, and as you said, like it starts off as a murder mystery, or kidnapping mystery. I can't actually remember the end of it. I'm not gonna lie, in terms of whether it was a murder or not. But it was one of those films that like the whole ending sequence. I don't remember the exact name, but the ending sequence. I was just like almost. I think I shouted at the TV like, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
And like,
it's mad that a
you
film
know,
can do
I don't
that,
do that very often.
Yeah, it's mad that a film can do that. Very
Deuce
good.
for you.
Number 2 for me. Now, for ages, my number one film had been always way out in the clear, and it's still the same as it was. But recently, this one's really caught up to it. Like my 1 and 2 right now are really close. Really close, and it's the first time in ages I've had that with film. Number 2 for me is the film I've watched that like moved me the most. Like I've never had a film like genuinely like jerk fucking tears from me.
Did you have to
like
go on a long walk afterwards?
Nah, 'cause I watched it late.
Oh,
but like
geez.
and every time I watched it, it moves me like, and that's fucking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. First entry from Jack Nicholson, a favourite actor of mine, of course. And honestly, the book's fantastic as well. And I just watched the film, and it's just like that cleaned up at the Oscars that year, and you can see why. Yeah.
Clean up on all six.
Yeah, honestly, best picture. And like it's shot so nicely, like it's 70s. It was like made in the 70s, so it's
Great decade.
It's old enough now to like really look old, but it's got that cool like nostalgic vintage quality about it that makes it really interesting to watch. It's mad seeing Jack Nicholson young in it, but he's amazing in that film, and like the story itself is so like moving. I've used that word so many times, but it's the best way of describing it.
Right, if a word works, it works.
Yeah, and to be
no
honest,
shame here.
Yeah, listen, not a lot more that needs to be said other than like it's got to be that high up for me, because no film has like made me feel that intense an emotion after seeing it as that one did. Like whilst I was watching it, and the ending and like last scene and stuff, you sit there and you're just like, oh my god, like you feel different after watching it. Like, it's sick.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Actually, I think. Going back for a lot of these, like About Time, the ones that are most similar to that for me are About Time and Love Actually. All my other top 10 ones,
the rom-coms.
Yeah, I love a rom-com. Yeah. But I mean, they're quite deep rom-com. Like I'd say you get like You're Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like, that's a rom-com with capital C. And these ones, I think they're quite deep. So, bro, okay, just keep that in mind. But that, the way you just described it, in terms of like, I'm actually forgetting when I was talking about those other films, like how I'd be a bit of a wreck afterwards.
Yeah. That's mad.
Come on, we're all men here.
We're all human.
We can admit it. Can we admit little tearjerkers every now and then?
Yeah, mate, of course. A mark of a good film.
But I still need to watch it. I don't know. Do you reckon the book's worth reading first?
I think you can read them in either order because they're quite different.
Okay.
The book and the film, like the book is told way more from one particular character's perspective.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it that way in the film. He's still a major character, but they didn't do it like as intensely through his perspective as in the book. But it's really good. I really, really like it.
Okay. Well,
and that's number 2. Now
we'll have to have a discussion.
We reach the summit.
Oh no! Geez, I'm looking at the sound spike of that. That's gonna be cleaned up in post.
Mombasa starts playing.
But could actually do that. We could very much do that.
Play Mombasa. Very intense, but what a tune. Anyway,
my number one.
There he is.
Has been my number one since I was 10 years old. It's a very well-known film. A lot of people have watched it. It's by my favourite director, Christopher Nolan, and it blew my freaking mind. Inception.
There he is.
10 years old. I sat in the cinema. I remember it very clearly. I was sat on the front of rows, and I was, wee young lad of 10, looking up at the big screen of like, whoa, like, wow.
That's a good way of describing the film.
I think what I think is interesting is I don't think it would be my favorite film if I'd watched it when I was older.
Yeah.
I think, and this is why it's my number one. I think this is a great reason for it being number one. Inception is the film that made me fall like in love with movies. I think movies were huge growing up, cartoons, all the good stuff, Hercules, like incredible films.
Good film.
Flubber.
Flubber's a great film.
The Mask. But
he had to sneak in.
Inception. It came.
Jackson.
Somebody stop me. The Inception is Inception.
Mate, the fact that Jim Carrey came into your discussion when we're talking about your number one film is your subconscious telling you The Mask is actually your favourite film of all time. That's what that part of you wants, mate. That's what you really want to talk about right now.
No.
Not
Please.
Inception, mate.
Not The Mask.
I'm sorry, but I hate to break it to you, but your favourite film is The Mask.
It's the
starring Jim Carrey.
I really hope people, if they listen to this, they've seen that film, because that out of context
No
is
context.
quite embarrassing. Inception blew my mind. It's about dreams. It's about this.
It's about dreams.
It's about just foghorns, dirty foghorns, and action. And you know what? Inception probably has some like everybody apart from Cobb is actually one of the most one-dimensional characters you've ever seen.
Which
a lot of
Cobb?
them, Cobb's Leo DiCaprio.
Right, of course, yeah.
Of course, he's number one.
Yeah.
Some of them are literally just exposition, and like
Yeah.
a lot of this is what's interesting. That's like exposition. God, Austin Powers is incredible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I usually argue about in terms of like the human condition, all that stuff. Inception is one of the things where the bells and whistles of the dream stuff, the action, I think are just so good. But what's good about it, and this is interesting in comparing it to Tenet, the recent one,
Yeah.
which the premise again was incredible. But compare that to Inception. I didn't realize this until reading it recently. The whole Cobb story about him and his wife. So a big part of the story, is this team of dream infiltrators are trying to plant, instead of steal, they're trying to plant an idea in someone's head about selling a company. And it's it's businessy because these shareholders want the company to be sold.
Yeah.
And the film doesn't really tell it that well. So I only knew that on a couple occasions after a couple watches.
Yeah.
But
I didn't even...
it's about this business operation, like lots of money's at stake, but it's such a huge idea. And the people on the team, you don't realize that Cobb, the main character, like he's doing it not just for reasons of this a business thing, but like he had this relationship with his wife that gets revealed throughout the film.
Yeah.
And that's the human part, and that was added later. So Nolan tried to make the film without that being in there.
Really? Wow.
And Tenet doesn't have that.
It doesn't have that other element.
And it's, one of the things that I love Nolan, but like, I'm a bit of a sucker for the mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But that Cobb thing is just, it makes everything else essential. My favorite things about the film are not just the Cobb story, but it's, as I've said, like the mind-blowing, the questions it brings up are huge. I think one of the things is Inception's a really good metaphor, not just for the dream stuff, but the idea of Inception, that you plant something in someone's mind.
Yeah.
It's the scene in the bar which became a meme with Leo talking to Cillian Murphy, which is just like,
yeah, no, I know, I know what you mean.
I don't know if you can hear my facial expressions,
No,
but I was nailing it.
Yeah,
but the whole question of like, if you want to get someone to do something, you plant the idea, and it's like very manipulative, but psychologically, like, that's a big theme of it. And I think that actually has a lot of applications in real life. The Nazism stuff we talk, like, you don't tell someone something, you give them the seeds. Yeah. And like, that's just a really cool aspect of it. The what is reality, just continuing that Matrix kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the soundtrack, Hans Zimmer.
He delivers.
Also composed Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Another humongous film. But for me as well, at 10 years old, I was just like, I didn't know I could walk away from a movie just feeling such a rush.
Yeah.
Such an absolute rush, and like just clinging to my chair, like, run out of popcorn immediately because I was hooked. Yeah. And leaving a film and just being like, I want to Google this for the next 2 hours. Yeah. That's what a good film does to me. Yeah, that's cool. And I went into a lucid dreaming binge. I couldn't do it that well, but I got a book on dreaming. Yeah. Love getting books and stuff, but just 10-year-old me was obsessed with it. Yeah, that's cool. And one of those things that made me ask that first question: how could a movie do that to me? Yeah. And that's why it's my number one. And as I said, there's a lot of weaknesses to it as a film compared to others. Yeah. Like Good Will Hunting, for example, is so much better and so many other things. But that's what the film did to me, and that's what the number one spot should be reserved for. Because there's no best film. There's the one that slapped you in the face and said, "Look, son, okay."
It said,
God damn, Jimmy.
God.
That is some gourmet shit.
Slap me thrice and hand me to my mama.
Okay. That was a bit weird, Jack. Now, the big one.
It's coming, yeah, and it is the classic. It's
The
been
big
my
man.
favorite. It's been my favorite for ages, but it is just fantastic.
It is, man.
It is
Fantastic,
just-
Mr. Fox again.
He's back again, Pedro. No, it's of course Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Stanley Kubrick's The Moon Landing.
Honestly, it's just like I just watched it, and I think it's pretty good. Going to be pretty similar reasons. The main thing I watched it for was like I watched it, and like a big thing I like acting in a film. Like I find it interesting not just to watch the film,
Yeah.
but to watch how people are acting. And after that film, just seeing how Jack Nicholson acted in that, I was just like blown away by how he like took hold of this character, like grasped it, and just went so like he is like demented in that film, the way he acts. Like he does it so well.
Yeah.
Like this like sadistic, like unstable character. He absolutely nails that role.
I need to rewatch it.
He's
It's been a while.
charismatic at the same time. That's the thing, because he's Jack Nicholson. The film itself is really unsettling. It's not scary now, but there's a lot of unsettling shots just because the way Kubrick does stuff, like how they're eerily like symmetrical and like uncanny.
Mate, that hallway image. So I think the images in it. The blood, yeah,
elevators are
and the
iconic.
girls.
Girls, that is scary.
What I think is great about that is, like I said earlier with, I can't remember which film it was, but the whole like the way it's filmed, you know, this idea of insanity, which
Yeah.
I think fascinates absolutely everybody.
Yeah. Always a good premise for a film. Like,
Yeah.
Just
But again, the you know, and I guess it really pioneered it for its time. But the fact that the movie itself, in the way it's shot, is really really wrong.
yeah,
Like the just flashing scenes in, like, and like it doesn't.
and the soundtrack goes
Yeah.
along with that, mate. The score is
Oh,
ridiculous.
I'm getting chills, mate. Whew.
Mate, you know that he put like a lot of the score is like in scenes there'll be like loads of quiet and then a sudden abrupt noise when it like changes
Oh
scene
my
for the
God.
chapters, and then it also has human heartbeats playing in the sound in the score that like they just like they fade in and out
Gosh,
in
you're
this
scaring
way
me right now.
that like you don't quite notice, but then you hear this like pulsing, and it's like the heartbeat. Oh, it's just crazy. Goes along with the themes of the film so well that they went so in. Basically, I think why I like it is like because I have an interest in like the uncanny
Yeah.
and stuff that like makes you feel a certain way.
Liminal.
Like, yeah, mate, that kind of shit. I watched that film and I was like, it is insane how like that looked like a like high budget Oscar made film, but like your Oscar winning film, but it didn't win any Oscars, but it's like high quality.
Gonna cry.
Robbery, mate. It's such high quality, but then like you're saying about there's just something that's not quite right.
Yeah.
And so it's aesthetic to look at, but it's also deeply unsettling.
The thing, the best way I could try and describe it, thought of this just now actually,
Come
but
on.
is
Let it on me.
in terms of the uncanniness, it's like you were saying, like it doesn't adhere to the normal like rhythm of a film.
No.
In terms
It's
of, as you're
so
saying, the music,
disjointed.
the way the story is actually being told. Oh crap! Laptop's gone off again, but
Shut
we'll leave
up
it.
and open it. Oh wait, no, it carried on recording, didn't it?
Yeah. The thing about The Shining is it's like a book, but you're reading it
Yeah.
in like, you know, the ransom notes, how
Yeah.
they used to be like all that and it just looks like everything's juggling
Yeah.
out of place. It's like reading a book that's written in those ransom note
Yeah.
like stick on letters.
Yeah.
Like it's just wrong.
yeah.
No,
No, that's a good way of
it's
putting it.
really wrong, and you know, one of those films again, like it just engages the audience.
Yeah. It's
to,
very
to
different
not
from
to
the
not
book
use
as
that
well.
get out of jail free card for English literature writing and essays and stuff, but the audience is just pulled in and just being
Yeah.
like, look, you're the bitch
Yeah.
in this film. I'm Stanley Kubrick.
There's so
Take a
many,
seat.
Like odd little details that are just creepy and like it's just a sick film. Been my favorite for a long time and still is.
What age do you reckon?
Probably I must have watched it in like year 10,
Yeah,
and like pretty much as soon as I watched it, I was like, yeah.
I think I remember because you know, an inspiration for this podcast is me and Jack talk about films a long time.
Yeah.
You know, like we'd sit in English next to each other a lot, and most of our English lesson would be on films for us too, instead of the actual book or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember this Inception Shining battle.
Yeah.
I think we've both found our own territory. There's a no man's land in between, which occasionally gets crossed by someone.
Yeah.
But these I think it's obvious that our top number ones are the films that hit us, and nothing will ever take over it, because they're the first films that made us realize, like, movies can do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, the reason we're choosing to make a podcast and have this length of conversation about movies is because it's inspired by these first films that was just like, wow.
Yeah, mate.
It just makes life so much more thrilling.
Yeah.
And with that,
that's a good way to
bombshell.
wrap up,
I think
it's a good way to wrap up.
I'll say thank you for joining us, all three of those views on SoundCloud.
Absolutely.
But
it's been a pleasure.
It's been a long one. But this is for posterity, mate.
Yeah.
Our main target audience for this, I think, when I first suggested it, is us in, like, I don't know, 20, 30 years time, just being like, Jesus Christ, we were so funny, like. But apologies for the just stupidity which emanates from these conversations.
Happens.
But sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Goodbye. Thank you for
See
listening.
ya.
And cue the jazz.